The mall was bustling with energy as usual. It was a busy Saturday afternoon, and shoppers swarmed the stores, their footsteps echoing on the marble floors. In the middle of the crowd, no one noticed her at first. Rihanna, the global superstar, walking among them like any other shopper. Dressed casually in a sleek black jacket and dark sunglasses, she wasn't drawing attention. At least, not immediately. That was until the incident happened. It started with a voice, loud and crude, cutting through the music playing over the loudspeakers. "Go back to where you came from." Rihanna paused, her steps faltering for just a moment. She could hear the voice again, this time more belligerent. It was coming from a woman, standing a few feet away, with a sneer on her face. The woman's words were followed by a hateful laugh, and before Rihanna could react, the woman took a step forward and shoved her. The crowd around them went silent for a split second, as if everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. Rihanna, for a moment, stood there, stunned. It wasn't the first time she had faced racism in her life, but this moment felt different. It was bold, public. A woman who didn't care that she was on a crowded shopping floor with everyone around her, taunting a celebrity who had built her name on breaking boundaries, on standing up for herself. But Rihanna wasn't someone who shied away from a challenge. Instead of reacting with anger or returning the shove, Rihanna took a deep breath and turned to face the woman. Her voice was calm, almost serene. "What's your problem?" she asked, her eyes locked with the woman's, but there was no rage in her gaze, only an understanding that this was not about her personally. This was about something much bigger. The woman sneered again. "You think you're better than me? You think because you're famous you can just walk around and get special treatment? This is what happens when people like you think they can take over everything. You're nothing but a disgrace." The tension in the air was thick, and for a moment it seemed like it might escalate. The crowd around them had begun to gather, some recording the incident with their phones, others watching in shock. Rihanna's bodyguard was already moving towards them, sensing the trouble. But Rihanna raised her hand to signal him to hold back. "I'm not going to fight you," Rihanna said softly, her voice carrying across the silence. "You can scream all you want, but that doesn't change who I am, or who you are. It doesn't make you feel better either, does it?" The woman stood frozen for a moment, as if taken aback by Rihanna's calmness. But before she could say another word, Rihanna continued. "I could walk away from this, but the truth is, people like you are the ones who need to be heard the most. You need help. You need to understand that hate doesn't get you anywhere. It just makes you more miserable." At that, something unexpected happened. The woman's expression faltered. The sneer on her face softened, and for a moment, it looked like she was about to break down. She shook her head, suddenly avoiding Rihanna's gaze. Then, without a word, she turned and walked away, leaving the crowd in stunned silence. Rihanna stood there for a moment, watching the woman disappear into the crowd. The tension in the air slowly began to dissipate, and murmurs spread through the onlookers, who had witnessed the rare moment of calm in the face of cruelty. Rihanna didn't smile or feel triumphant. She simply stood there, her gaze turning back to the shelves of the store as if nothing had happened. But in her heart, she knew that this moment would be remembered by everyone who had witnessed it. As Rihanna continued shopping, the moment in the mall seemed to fade away into the background, but it lingered in the minds of those who had witnessed it. The woman who had attacked her had disappeared, But the message Rihanna had left behind hadn't gone unnoticed. People were talking. As she stood in line to pay for a few items, a woman stepped up to her, holding a bag full of things Rihanna hadn't noticed she had picked up while she was distracted by the confrontation. "You're amazing," the woman said, her voice shaking with emotion. "I saw what happened. I just wanted to say thank you." Rihanna smiled faintly, nodding as she took the woman's hand. "It's nothing. Just trying to keep my peace." But the woman was insistent. "You showed so much strength. I don't think I could have handled that. You didn't let her get to you." Rihanna nodded. "It's hard. But at the end of the day, it's about showing them that hate doesn't win. It's about rising above." The woman looked at Rihanna for a moment longer and then glanced at her phone. "I'm going to post this online," she said, her eyes filled with determination. "People need to see this. You handled it better than anyone could have expected. People need to understand that racism isn't okay, no matter who it's coming from." The woman turned to leave, leaving Rihanna standing there, her hand still lightly resting on the counter. For a moment, Rihanna thought about the situation again. The woman, the words, the hate. She had felt it all before, but in that moment, something had shifted inside her. She hadn't felt angry. She hadn't reacted in the way people might expect a celebrity to react. Instead, she had chosen to walk away with dignity. As she stepped out of the store and into the mall's crowded hallway, Rihanna was suddenly surrounded by a group of young women, all beaming with excitement. They had been watching the entire scene unfold from the sidelines and were now gathered around her. "Rihanna, what you did back there, wow, that was incredible," one of them said. "Seriously, you were so calm," another added. "I don't think I could have handled that woman the way you did." Rihanna smiled and looked at them. "Thank you, but it's not about me. It's about the message. We need to stop allowing hate to control us." They nodded, clearly moved by her words. As Rihanna turned to walk away, her heart swelled with something she hadn't expected. The crowd around her, while filled with admirers, wasn't as overwhelming as it once would have been. This wasn't about her fame. It was about something deeper, standing up, speaking out, and being a voice for those who had been silenced. It was about using her platform to speak truth, even in the smallest of moments. In that fleeting, unexpected moment, Rihanna realized something important. The way people saw her, not just as an artist, but as a person who fought for what was right, had the power to change lives. And as she walked out of the mall, Rihanna was more certain than ever that the real fight for equality was just beginning. The incident in the shopping mall had gone viral. It wasn't long before news outlets, social media platforms, and fans all over the world were buzzing with stories about Rihanna's calm yet powerful response to the racist attack. But the more Rihanna saw the posts, the more she realized something. It wasn't about her. It was about the bigger picture. The hate, the racism, the everyday struggles that people, especially people of color, faced. The shock wasn't just in what had happened in the mall that day, but in how easily it had been accepted as normal. The world had been conditioned to think it was just something that happened, something to brush off. But Rihanna had set a new example. The days that followed saw many people come forward, sharing their own stories of racial discrimination. Some were inspired by Rihanna's calmness, others simply by her refusal to tolerate hate in any form. Social media was flooded with messages of support, but also with stories that echoed the pain Rihanna had experienced firsthand. Women, men, children, all facing their own forms of prejudice, their own struggles, often in silence. But what surprised everyone the most was how Rihanna used her platform to speak out. She didn't remain silent, and she didn't shy away from sharing her own experiences with racism. She posted a heartfelt message to her follower. "I am not just Rihanna, the celebrity. I am a woman of color. I've lived through discrimination, hate, and ignorance, but I am also strong, and I want you to know that you are too. We must stand together, share our stories, and fight for justice. Don't let hate make you smaller than who you are." The post went viral, and it wasn't just fans commenting. Influencers, activists, and public figures all came forward, praising Rihanna for her leadership in the fight against racism. It wasn't just an isolated incident anymore. It was the beginning of a movement. Weeks later, Rihanna decided to use her voice in a more structured way. She announced a new initiative, a non-profit organization focused on supporting victims of racial injustice. The organization would not only provide financial assistance, but also offer resources, education, and support to people affected by discrimination. She was determined to turn her pain into purpose. But what about the woman who started it all? The racist woman who had shouted at Rihanna in the mall. It was in those moments, as Rihanna reflected on the aftermath, that she realized something profound. Hate would always exist. But with each act of resistance, each voice that rose in unity, the world could inch closer to a place where equality wasn't just an idea. It was a reality. As Rihanna stood on the stage at the non-profit's first fundraiser event, surrounded by supporters, she knew this was just the beginning. She had used her platform to shine a light on something bigger than herself. And in doing so, she had created a space for others to share their own stories too. In the end, the woman's words were nothing but a fleeting, ugly moment in the mall. But what Rihanna had done with them, how she had turned them into something powerful, was the real victory.